Texas, 68 million years ago. Here, death comes not only from well-armed gargantuan dinosaurs. Sometimes it swoops down from the sky on the wings of a flying reptile, Quetzalcoatlus.
Quetzalcoatlus could be kind of seen as a Cretaceous stealth bomber. Air-to-ground weaponry at its finest.
They weren't big, fragile kites. They were big, mean, terrifying bats from hell.
Quetzalcoatlus is arguably the largest, most sophisticated animal ever to fly. A wingspan of almost 40 feet holds aloft a body weighing 400 pounds. That's the wingspan of the Wright brothers' first flyer.
Picture a living plane, and that gives you a sense of what Quetzalcoatlus would look like in life.
I mean, this is an animal that probably accelerates over 2.5 Gs just on takeoff.
Just beyond our comprehension.
A Quetzalcoatlus is 10 times the weight of the largest flying bird today. Yet this airborne reptile doesn't rely on feathers. Its wings are made of skin. Almost half of that wing is supported by an extended finger bone, a finger 8 feet long. A second bone lines the front of the wing, forming a leading edge similar to an aircraft. This aerodynamic design allows for near-perfect control on takeoff and landing. But for this flying monster, getting off the ground is the hardest task.
Big pterosaur like Quetzalcoatlus, giraffe height, on all fours, and it's got to get up into the air. How's it going to do that?
Calling the plains of Texas home makes that job even more difficult.
Flat ground, no hills, no cliffs, no special conditions, nothing to help it at all except its muscles. It could still take off from a standstill without any running required.
The secret to how this Goliath takes off can be seen in a creature 1,000 times smaller, the vampire bat.
They have to spring up into the air. They have to do essentially a super push-up with their powerful forelimbs, the strongest limbs they have, get up high enough that they can get their wings to flap and get off the ground.
A Quetzalcoatlus takes off in the same way, using all 4 limbs to suddenly leap up into the air. Its powerful arm muscles are composed of 80% fast-twitch fiber, a third more than humans. This specialized muscle tissue is capable of delivering rapid bursts of energy. Energy needed to propel this reptile, a creature weighing as much as a grizzly bear, from a dead stop to a launch speed of 30 miles per hour, all in a fraction of a second.
I think that seeing a pterosaur like Quetzalcoatlus actually take off would have to be one of the most impressive sights in the animal kingdom. And to see something that's 20 feet tall suddenly spring into the air and fly away is outside the bounds of human experience.
For a giant like Quetzalcoatlus, flight control is everything. This flying reptile has one of the most advanced autopilot systems in natural history, akin to a bio-supercomputer.
Imagine just for a moment that you're an animal with the wingspan of a small sailplane, and you are turning yourself 90 degrees. That's not an easy maneuver to pull. Human pilots, for example, rely on instruments in their cockpit in order to do things like that. Quetzalcoatlus has to have those instruments built in.
A Quetzalcoatlus wing is covered with millions of tiny hair-like sensors. These microscopically small biomemory devices collect information, then send signals to the brain.
Their wing wasn't just an aerodynamic organ. It was also a gigantic sensory organ, capturing all kinds of aerodynamically relevant information about things like airspeed, tension in particular parts of the wing.
This data travels from the wing to the brain. Then, in a split second, a Quetzalcoatlus makes minute adjustments to its wing shape and body position. Proof of this advanced biotechnology is found in the flocculus, the area of the brain devoted to flight control. It's 3 times larger than in any bird today.
There's a huge amount of math going on in the brain as it's making these subconscious calculations. And what's key is that's happening all the time. It can never stop because these animals are in the air. And if there's any break in that process, the results are potentially catastrophic.
Nothing this large would achieve powered flight until the 20th century, 65 million years later. And Quetzalcoatlus still may hold the record for flight duration.
Probably stay aloft for a week. Probably could have gone for 26,000 miles in a single trip.
Quetzalcoatlus is one of the most unusual and terrifying carnivores to inhabit the Earth. But unlike predators such as T-Rex and Deinonychus, this flying meat-eater isn't searching for the big kill. It scours the Earth from above, tracking the small, the young, the defenseless, dinosaur hatchlings. During the Cretaceous, carnivores were equipped with the most powerful, the most deadly, and the most advanced killing tools biology has ever developed. One of the most terrifying is Quetzalcoatlus, a flying reptile weighing nearly as much as a grizzly bear. This winged predator is constantly on the lookout for a meal of dinosaur hatchlings. Keeping this predator airborne at altitudes as high as 10,000 feet requires a 40-foot wingspan, an accurate guidance system, and near-perfect eyesight.
What we see is an enlarged eyeball, an enlarged eye socket, and the processing centers of the brain, the optic lobes, were also very much expanded.
Its 4-inch retina is packed with over 1 billion light receptors and registers as much as 4 times the detail of the human eye. A Quetzalcoatlus can also see a spectrum of light invisible to humans. Ultraviolet. The urine of their prey absorbs UV rays and then reflects them back. This creates a lighted trail leading straight to their quarry.
These animals had very highly developed gaze stabilization mechanisms, allowing to keep their target fixed and in focus within the crosshairs, if you will, as they were moving through space.
The secret to gaze stabilization is hidden in the inner ear. 3 interconnected tubes form what are called semicircular canals. Fluid fills each canal, and small hairs detect the tiniest movement. As a Quetzalcoatlus's head moves during flight, signals are sent directly to the eye muscles. The eyeballs adjust, keeping an image fixed and perfectly in focus. From 1,000 feet in the air, a Quetzalcoatlus can pick out a T-Rex nest and even count the number of chicks.
I think that a big pterosaur on the ground would have been spooky because they would be moving around on all fours. They'd probably have those sort of quick, precise movements like birds, but they'd be huge.
Quetzalcoatlus lives by its own rules. Most meat-eaters keep their distance from the hatchlings of an apex predator, but not this reptile.
There probably weren't many animals in the Cretaceous that would dare to try to grab a baby Tyrannosaurus Rex. Quetzalcoatlus could probably manage it.
These big pterosaurs like Quetzalcoatlus were probably eating baby dinosaurs right and left. And then when they want to, boom, they push down, they spring into the air, and they flap away.
For Quetzalcoatlus, the key to snapping up baby dinosaurs is a quick getaway. But escape is no problem for a reptile that can pull 2.5 Gs on takeoff, reaching 30 miles per hour in less than a second.
If you're Quetzalcoatlus and you live in a land full of tyrannosaurs in the latest Cretaceous, you need to take off in a hurry sometimes.
Quetzalcoatlus is unlike any other dinosaur in the Cretaceous. Speed, agility, and sophisticated biology allow it to survive for millions of years in a brutal environment. But this is a world inhabited by the most advanced predators nature has ever produced. Even prehistoric killers like Deinonychus and Tyrannosaurus rex know that no matter how many tools they have at the ready, attacking plant eaters is risky business. Every hunt might be your last. A mystique surrounds the mighty carnivores of the Cretaceous. They rule a dangerous world. But being a super predator like Tyrannosaurus rex is no easy job. Just surviving to adulthood is a major feat. One that takes a decade or more of killing and eating some of the meanest creatures that walk the earth.
The hardest role in the ecosystem is top predator. Most of the time, you are almost starving.
No prey animal goes down easily. Herbivores fight like their lives depend on it. Because they do.
The irony for many predators is they're very concerned about injuring themselves.
Even the toughest, most well-armed meat eaters regularly come face to face with prey that can kill them. Whether you have the jaws of Tyrannosaurus rex or are armed to the teeth like a raptor, every hunt might just be your last.
The thing about predation is it's very dangerous both for the prey and for the predator.
There are many specimens that have puncture wounds and open sores when they die.
An injury, even a minor one, can stop a predator from hunting. A virtual guarantee of death by starvation.
The life of a carnivore was so hard that they were beat up. They're all beat to hell before they became a fossil.
It's not like Africa or Asia today, where you have lots of smaller animals and there's one or two big things like elephants or rhinos. We're talking about an entire landscape that's filled with herds of multi-ton herbivores.
Throughout history, survival means overpowering and outwitting your opponent. For carnivores, muscles grow stronger and brains grow larger. Not to allow for abstract thought, but to stay alive.
If we look at animals today, predators tend to have bigger brains than herbivores. Lions have big brains. They have really complex behavior, a lot more complex than that of the wildebeest and antelopes that they're eating.
The rules of engagement between predator and prey have barely changed in over 100 million years. Every carnivore must understand its quarry.
It's going to have to know the habits of those animals, know what possible things it's going to do, know it's going to turn and try to slap it with its tail, know that if you try to sink your teeth into an ankylosaur, you're going to end up breaking a lot of teeth off.
For meat eaters during the Cretaceous, just as today, staying alive is tough. Very tough.
If we look at lives of living predators today, they're pretty short lives. Each individual life does not span its potential. Whenever they become older and weaker, they're more susceptible to injury. And every time you hunt, you're putting your life on the line.
Predators stop at nothing to survive. In the world of dinosaurs, they use everything in their arsenal. Brains, eagle eyes, stealth flight, super hearing, and an advanced sense of smell. But in the end, those who live by the claw sometimes die by the claw.